And we'll just hit start streaming. Huh, sweetie? That's a good way to start. I'll hit start streaming. It says excellent condition. We're in excellent condition, sweetie. It must be all those exercises we've been doing. Yeah, right. Exercising our freedom not to exercise. Our freedom to choose not to exercise. Yeah. And then I will hit the intro song like so. And the show will start. That's awesome. Yeah, because then this way we have kind of like a cold open. And I don't know. I think it maybe connects the viewers to us. You know. I mean, starting a show with a theme song and everything. It's kind of a, I don't know. Is it a cliche? Well, I don't know if it's a cliche so much as it's like a standard. You know, you want to get people kind of in the mood. Yeah. I mean, I could just come out here and sing. Hey, everybody. You know, welcome to the show. Welcome to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast. Yeah, you could do it like that. The podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. We are the live stream show every morning, most mornings, when we're not doing an interview or something, about Ojibwe language and culture, right here on YouTube. Available only on YouTube. Live streaming from Bemidji Gamug, huh, sweetie? That's right, in lovely Bemidji, Minnesota. Yep, in beautiful Bemidji, Minnesota. That's the town we're from. And, oh, well, looks like Papa Wagosh is here just bright and early. BOOZHOO, Papa Wagosh. Hey, sweetie, Papa Wagosh just stopped in. Hey, BOOZHOO, Papa Wagosh. Papa Wagosh. In English, this means foxy dad. Papa Wagosh. Wagosh is the Ojibwe word for fox. And I would like to begin the show today with a traditional story and an Adizuke, and a traditional Anishinaabe story about Wagosh, about the fox, and Wabooz, the rabbit. Back in the days of the grandfathers, there was a rabbit named Wabooz and a fox named Wagosh. And Wagosh was hunting Wabooz. And he was following the rabbit's tracks in the snow. And he comes up to an old man. And he says, "Excuse me, grandfather. I wonder if you could help me. I've been tracking this rabbit all day. I am Wagosh. I am the fox, and I am a mighty hunter. And have you seen a rabbit run by here?" And the old man was covered in a blanket, smoking a pipe. He goes, "No, I have not seen a rabbit." What are you crazy? Go on now. "Why do you bother an old man?" He goes, "Oh, I didn't mean to bother you, sir." He goes, "Yeah, well, that's exactly what you did." And he was stirring some stew there. He goes, "Now go on." And he smacks him right in the head with his wooden stick. And just then, Wagosh realized that was Wabooz. And the rabbit, he goes, "Ha ha!" And he runs away. And Wagosh goes, "Oh, that dirty Wabooz. He tricked me. But I am a great hunter. I am Wagosh, the fox. And I will get him yet." So he keeps tracking him down the path there, right? And he comes across an old lady. There's an old lady, and she's got her head covered in a blanket, and she's got a bonnet on or something. Can't quite see her face. And he comes up to her and he says, "Oh, excuse me, grandmother. I wonder if you can help me. I am Wagosh, the fox. I am a mighty hunter, and I am hunting Wabooz, the rabbit. I wonder, have you seen a rabbit come this way?" Because I'm hunting rabbit. And she goes, no, I'm just an old lady. I don't know about such things. Why must you bother just a gentle old lady walking with just a cane? She had just a little cane there. She goes, I am not concerned with such things. Now go on now. Do not bother me anymore. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, grandmother. I did not mean to offend you. She goes, oh, yeah, well, that's exactly what you did. And just then she smacked him right in the forehead with her walking stick. And as she did that, her head covering fell off. And who was it? It was Wabooz, the rabbit. And he goes, aha! It is I, Wabooz. I have tricked you. And he runs off. And Wagosh is getting just mad. He goes, oh, that dirty Wabooz. He has tricked me again. First he pretended to be an old grandfather. And now he pretends to be a old grandma. He will not fool me again. And he keeps following this path. And he's hunting the Wabooz. And he sees the tracks. And they're going north. Well, what he didn't know was Wabooz says, hey, you know what? And he had little moccasins on. And he goes, listen, you moccasins, you keep running up the trail. I'm going to jump off the trail here, but I want you moccasins to keep running. That old fox, Wagosh, he's not going to know. He's going to think he's following me. And so his moccasins, they jumped right off his feet, and they kept running. They were really, really obedient moccasins. You know, you have a hard time finding shoes that'll work like that these days. I know. I was at Walmart. I couldn't find any moccasins that would just hop off my feet and run away. Yeah. But these moccasins, they hopped right off his feet and they ran down the trail. And sure enough, old Wagosh, he keeps following the tracks until he finally reaches the end when there's just a pair of moccasins. He's like, doggone it, that Wagosh, he fooled me a third time. When will I learn? And he starts marching back, and he sees a tree where old Wagosh just happened to be hiding inside, an old hollowed-out tree. And he sees that tree, and he goes, oh, you think you can fool me again? I know what you have done. You've turned yourself into a tree this time. First you're an old man, then you're an old lady, then you sent your moccasins down the path. And now you think I'm going to be tricked by you changing into a tree? Yeah, nice shape-shifting. And he goes to smack that tree just hard. Well, just at that minute, little Wabooz, he sticks his head out. He's like, huh? What now? You think I'm a shapeshifter? So, yeah, maybe I'm a bit of a cross-dresser, but I'm not, you know. But he sticks his head out there, and bam, he gets smacked right in the face. And oh, his little nose, it gets just pushed back. And his little nose turns all red. And Wagosh is like, there, that's what you get for being a shapeshifter. Don't try to fool me again. I'm a great hunter. I am Wagosh. And he marched off. And this is how. And this is the story of how Wabooz got a little flat face and a little red nose. And a Zuke, a traditional story by your old Uncle Nanaboozhoo. Ah, sweetie! Huh? That's a good story. I didn't know you were going to tell a story first thing. Me either. That's an old, that's actually kind of an Ojibwe story. You know, like, most of the time when I tell stories here, I just kind of retell a movie I saw or something. Give an origin story to Batman. But that was actually an Ojibwe story. Apparently the old Ojibwe people, I'm getting the impression that maybe Indian people were the first ones to come up with Bugs Bunny. Yeah, you know that story? Wagosh really sounds kind of like a Bugs Bunny figure. Yeah, he's really mischievous, and he dresses up as a woman. And then, you know, and those old stories are always smacking each other with sticks and stuff. But, all right. So Daniel's here. Hey, BOOZHOO, Daniel. Happy Friday. Oh, yeah, it's Friday, sweetie. That's right. It's the 5th day. It is Friday. Nano Gija Good. It is the 5th day. Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Always Learning's here. Hey, BOOZHOO! We're getting a hand from Always Learning. Is Always Learning clapping? Yep, I think so. I think that's what that means. And Brandy Marie. Oh, BOOZHOO, Brandy Marie. So nice to see you. Papa Wagosh. Be very quiet. We're hunting rabbits. Yeah. Remember that? Old Arnold Fudd. Arnold Fudd? Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd. I'm hunting rabbits. Be very quiet. All those Bugs Bunny characters had like speech impediments. Did they? Yeah. Elmer Fudd had couldn't pronounce his R's. I'm hunting for rabbits. Tweety Bird, he couldn't pronounce his C's. I taught Putty Tat. Taught it. Sylvester Stallone. Yeah. He had like a lisp or something. Yeah. Porky Pig, he stuttered. Yeah, Porky Pig had a really bad stutter. That's all, folks. Yeah, you know. What's up with speech impediments and the woodland animals of Bugs Bunny? You know, Sesame Street suffers from that too. They're supposed to be an educational show, and then they have, you know, all these Muppets speaking wrong. Yeah, me love cookie. No. Me love cookie? What? Are you trying to teach the little ones how to talk in the show or what? But I think what it actually teaches us is how to tease people with speech impediments. It's time to cancel Sesame Street and Bugs Bunny. You're welcome, millennial generation and the woke culture. I will find something offensive about everything. Bugs Bunny, that's a stereotype of Italians. Yeah, what's up, Doc? He's supposed to be an Italian gangster. That's not okay. That's racist. You guys are racists against Italians. Against Italians, as they pronounce it in Bina. Oh, really? What country are Italians from? My cousins in Bina. Italy? Yeah. They always call them Italians. Yeah. Nano Gisha Good. The 5th day of the week. Friday. Oh, it feels so good to be Friday, huh, sweetie? Yeah, it does. I wait all week. Just working for the weekend. Mm-hmm. Let's see, Brandy Marie. She's probably in Costco line. The Costco line. Steve Martin's here. Hey, cool. Bonjour, Steve. Steve Martin's here, sweetie. The Steve Martin? Yeah, I think so. Hey, man. One of my first just big old belly laughs in a movie that I can remember that still stays with me is the scene you were in where you're like the bad waiter. He comes out and Kermit and Miss Piggy are on a date. And Steve Martin comes out and he's wearing cut-off shorts. And he's like, you know, I mean, it was the first time I'd ever seen, I was probably a 6th grader. First time I ever saw like a purposefully rude waiter portrayed in a movie. And I thought he was so funny. Would you like to smell the bottle cap? You know? And he like spits out the wine. Excellent choice. But Steve Martin. Here's a Steve Martin bit. I'm so mad at my mother. She's 102. She calls me up the other day. She says she wants to borrow $10 for some food. I said, hey, I work for a living. So I loan her the money. Now she calls me back. Says she can't pay me back for a while. I go, what is this? So I'm having her work on my barbells. No, I'm having her work on my transmission. And if she can't fix that, I'm going to have her haul my barbells up to the attic. Papa goes, wild and crazy guy. Yeah. But Steve Martin, when he first came out as a comedian, he could just make stand-up comedy. His shtick was sort of being a bad stand-up comic. Just walking up there, he was like the anti-comic. He'd have like an arrow through the head, bring out a banjo, which he was actually really good at playing, but he was going to be like a cliche bad comic. And so it was really funny. I'm so mad at my mother. She's 102. When I was a little guy, should I tell him a story of my start in stand-up, sweetie? You gonna tell him about the summer theater troupe? Yep. When I was 16 years old, I had a really fun summer. My older brother and his buddy Stuart had an idea. They were going to start a summer dinner theater production at the local bar. We came from a small town in northern Minnesota that had a lot of tourism. You know, people come up here to go fishing and stuff in the summers. And they'd rent, you know. And they come into the town, you know, to have dinner and whatever. You can't just fish all the time. So these guys, my brother and his buddy, were like theater nerds in high school. And they were going to do, okay, we'll do a number of sketches and one-act plays to a dinner theater production. We'll get some music. It'll be like a variety show. And they came to me and said, hey, do you want to be like the MC? You could be like a stand-up comedian. You'll start the show. You'll go up there, tell some jokes, and then introduce everything. And I go, a stand-up comedian? You mean like Steve Martin? Because this was like in 1982 or something. And I go, yeah, exactly like Steve Martin. And I went, yeah, okay, I can do that. So I went home and I listened to my brother's Steve Martin albums over and over again. Back in the days of their grandfathers, people used to buy an album of just a stand-up comedian. You would listen to it like it was music, like a record. Just listen to the same jokes, same stand-up routine for years. Oh, you know, let's see, what should I listen to? Boston, Kansas, Steve Martin. Yeah, let's just listen to Steve Martin again. And so I listened to these albums over and over again. And kind of copied his inflection and that. And the big day came for me to have my debut on the stage as a stand-up comedian. And I got up there and I told word for word Steve Martin jokes from those albums. I didn't do the wild and crazy guy bit, but I might as well have. I was a 16-year-old kid telling jokes about my wife, about, adult stuff. Like, I don't even think I had a driver's license yet. And, but to tell you the truth, it went pretty well. Did they like you? Yeah. Not everybody had heard the Steve Martin jokes like that one I just said about my mother being 102. I mean, my mother was probably like 40 at the time. 35 or something. But, then I have to go backstage, do a quick costume change, and then come back out and be in one of the plays. They even got my dad and old Steve Gerber to play some guitar. And then it was cool, because then you got to know the staff at the bar. I mean, it was a dinner club, sort of. They served dinner there, too. But I'm 15, 16 years old, and the bartender is just serving me drinks. That was a fun summer. Sneaking my girlfriend in to see me do stand-up and then get free beer. Namino Eya. He is fine. He's a wild and crazy kid. Namino Eya. I am well. Here's our Ojibwe phrase of the day. And we'd like to welcome Steve Martin, the wild and crazy guy. Daniel Black says, high tension day here in Scotland as we play England later today, so the country is on tenterhooks. Oh, that dirty English. First they come and they colonize Scotland. Now they dare show their faces and try to match the skill of the superior Scottish footballers, I think they're called. I'm assuming they're playing soccer. Yeah, do they call soccer football in Scotland? Yep, I think. I think we're the only people who call football football. I don't think they play football in Scotland. Do you guys have football? Not soccer, that's a kid's game. But a real sport like football? Football is huge in Minnesota. I never cared, but I was total outcast. Vikings rule the day. Watching the Vikings during football season is almost more important than going to church. Sundays, church will close early to make sure you can get back home in time for kickoff. If the Vikings are playing at noon, The people take their football very seriously here. And they kind of live with the disappointment. Because the Vikings, they're always a pretty good team, but they never go to the Super Bowl. I mean, they went 4 times in the 70s and never won. They lost 4 times and never went back. That was the first tragedy in Minneapolis. The Vikings. Remember George Floyd? Yeah. Remember Fran Tarkington? That's what they should have on those walls. So remember Fran Tarkington? Nah. Brandy Marie is cracking up at me. And it's a Thursday night, but there's a high school game. Sneak a bottle up the bleachers and forget my name. And these 5A bastards run a shallow cross. It's a boy's last dream and a man's first loss. Are you singing that song? I think we're singing that song. What is that, Speed Trap Town? Yep. Speed Trap Town. How does that start? Road got blurry when the sun came up. No, it ends that way. I don't even remember who wrote it. But Michael sang it. And it's a pretty good song. Maybe we should play that song for the what do you call it? Intermission? Yeah. That's probably intermission when I go up there. Yeah. Let's try to remember to make sure we do an intermission and get you up here. I start talking and I sometimes run out the clock. Oh, and by the way, sorry you guys, anybody watching yesterday? We sort of abruptly left the show. I started talking about a certain person who does a certain kind of show similar to this. And I started making claims about a certain group of people who claim to go to a certain place that we all see every night. I'm speaking in code. Yeah. I started talking about some kind of sensitive issues to the censorship crowd. And maybe it was just a weird coincidence, but just as I was saying something about HOAX and the MOONLANDING, and JOE, the toe, ROGAN, we got shut off. It was like, what? I didn't get any kind of copyright strike. I don't know. Usually, sometimes like it glitches out. The connection will be lost and it'll come right back. But yesterday, I kind of felt like Big Brother didn't want me talking about certain stuff. So I'm not going to talk about those things. Until the end of the show when it doesn't matter if we get cut off. Daniel Black says, I had a Billy Connolly record of one of his shows, and that's how I learned his story of the crucifixion. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Our generation, we would just listen to comedy albums. You know, I remember being a little guy listening to Bill Cosby tell the Noah story over and over again. It was basically listening to, like, it was like old time radio. You know, you'd be listening to a guy talk and tell stories that were funny. Bill Cosby. I remember kids passing around Eddie Murphy. You know, listen to this, and give you a cassette of Eddie Murphy you could listen to in your car for a few weeks. Laugh over the same bit every day, you know. All right. Kawa Bamapi, Steve Martin. Gigawaba Min, Minowa. I will see you again. Thanks for stopping in. Steve Martin's heading out, sweetie. So long, Steve Martin. Now, if you were from Minnesota, we'd have to walk you to the door and start another conversation. And then we'd walk you right to your car. And then you'd get in the car and you'd start it up, but you'd roll it down that window. And then we'd have the third goodbye as you're sitting there with your arm out the window. Okay, well, I better get going then. All right, you know, watch out for deer. And then you'll pull out. And then the final goodbye is as he's driving away. You know, if you're my uncle Vernon, then there's the final flip off instead of a wave. But maybe honk the horn. Minnesotans have to have like 4. Getting out of the house and in your car and down the driveway is a whole production. If you want to get home, if you're visiting somebody in Minnesota by, let's say, 10 o'clock and you got a 10-minute drive, you better start saying goodbye at 9. Because that's how that works. Especially if it's winter. By 9 o'clock, you go, well, I suppose. Man, I can't believe how dark it gets, you know. How early it gets dark. Whatever, it's a cold one. Because there's all these stages to getting from the couch of the person you're visiting and back to the couch of where you live. You gotta get up, gotta get on your shoes again, or your boots. Get your coat on, go out, realize, oh, the heck with this, I'm gonna let my car warm up. Warm up the car, come back in. Just stand at the door, you know. And then that sometimes leads to, okay, what's one more beer? And then you get out, you know, and then it's the goodbye, the Minnesota goodbye all over again. All right, well, I better get going. Yeah. You know, be careful, the roads are whatever. Walk them to the door. Walk them to the car. Roll down car window goodbye. Halfway down the driveway goodbye, the wave, the flip off, whatever, the honk. You know, there's like 3 or 4 of the goodbyes. Pre-goodbyes. And yet we never really say goodbye. I think that's why Minnesotans don't know how to say goodbye. Because in our way, we don't say goodbye. We say, Gigo Abamin, Minowa. I will see you again. You know? That is not our way. Goodbye comes from God be with you. Did you know that, sweetie? I did know that. Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha. BOOZHOO, everybody. Yeah. Godspeed. Whatever that means. I imagine God's pretty fast. I'm sure he is. Yeah. Oh, hey, la la la. Papa Wagosh says, Richard Pryor was big in high school because of all the 4-letter words. Yeah. Yeah, when you're a young boy, and especially if you grow up in kind of a nice community, you know, people who care about how you speak. If you grew up, you know, if you're lucky enough to grow up around adults who weren't swearing all the time, then getting around your buddies and being able to swear, it was like a really, you know, when we played baseball, man, you know, I was called the F word, both of them, you know, all the time. And I used both the F words all the time, you know. It's just how we talk. South Park is kind of true. For as much as people might not like how the language is so coarse in the South Park TV show, young boys, when they're allowed to use dirty words, man, we'll throw them around. You know. But I have to tell you, young people, when you come here, when you're in my house, you clean that up. There are no curse words in the Ojibwe language. Is that true? Yeah, I heard that. There was an elder once. He goes, yeah, in the Ojibwe language, we don't have curse words. And in fact, in some of the journals from the first missionary, the first contact of Europeans with the Ojibwe people, that's one thing they remarked. They said they never say a coarse word to each other. They don't have slang that is gross like that. And they never curse their God either. That's just not. And we never had a murder until after alcohol was introduced. There was no record, no memory among the Ojibwe people what are we talking, 1600s or something? Nobody could recall a time when anybody had been murdered. There was war, but like a murder between two people, something personal. They didn't have that. And I think it's because they probably didn't have swearing. Fights don't get out of control if you watch your language. So, young people, it is important that you don't swear. Yes, it's hilarious. Yes, when you're with your buddies. It will make your stories funnier if you can slide an F word in there. Go ahead, have fun. But you have to know how to shut it off. When your elders are around, not just your own grandparents. You'll notice in that story of Wagosh and Wabooz, when Wagosh would come up to an elder, he would call him grandfather and grandmother. We're not always so good about that in Indian country, calling our elders grandfather and grandmother, or uncle and auntie or whatever. But my sister used to live down in Pine Ridge, Res, and she said, oh yeah, it's cool, all the little kids, they call all the elders uncle and auntie or grandma or grandpa. They're still doing that. You should treat every elder. That doesn't mean you just act like reverential. It means make sure you never say a curse word around anybody who's older, even if they use them. It's good to clean it up. Treat every elder. That's how we show respect. Is by showing. Oops, that's the drawing from yesterday. It's a couple of cheetahs. Ellie Black White Bear Quay or White Bear Girl. But that's not what I was trying to show. Monadain da Moen. There's respect. Monadain da Moen. And in the 7 Anishinaabe values, the buffalo, the Mashkode Bejike, the buffalo, is the animal that represents respect. And you can kind of philosophize. You go, oh, I wonder why the buffalo? Is it because we respect buffaloes so much, or was it because buffaloes respected things so much? I think it's probably both. In the old way, buffaloes really represented an animal that Anishinaabe could use every part of. We showed respect, we had to respect the buffalo, because a buffalo could kill you hunting a buffalo. It's not like butchering a cow. Even though the buffalo in Ojibwe, that means a medicine cow. But Mushkode Bejike is a medicine cow. But when they hunted buffaloes, like remember in Dances with Wolves, when they're hunting buffaloes. You could get killed doing that. So you have to show respect for the buffalo. Then, when you did kill that buffalo, you could use his skin, his fur as robes, and his meat as food, and his bones for tools, and even his bladder we would use to carry water. The Anishinaabe people, and yeah, we did hunt buffalo too. I know Dakotas or the Sioux people are all like, oh yeah, we're the great hunters. But we had buffaloes too. So you know, Manadain da Moen. Respect. It's almost like it's not fear, but it's a little bit like fear. It's good. You know, it is so important to you that you never disrespect an elder by talking all gangster, by mocking an elder, by letting an elder suffer, you know, being confused or whatever. If you walk the red road and you're being a true human being, you're going to want to be so respectful that every elder will feel like your own grandma and your own grandpa. And you'll be so afraid of disrespecting them in the same way you'd be afraid of a buffalo trampling you. Because, I mean, you're not afraid of elders hurting you. But you should be afraid of an elder not, I guess not respecting you back, maybe? You know? The shame, the pain of the shame to your spirit would be so great if you're walking the red road, that if you did something horrible like disrespect an elder, it would be like disrespecting a buffalo and you get all trampled. Huh, sweetie? That's an excellent analogy. And this has been your moment of wisdom from an elder. And if I'm not your elder, like Papa Wagosh, disregard everything I said. Don't listen to me. I'm just a stupid kid. Mokade Bashike. That's right. Muscadine. I think Papa Wagosh is, I'm from the southwestern band of Algonquin Ojibwe speakers, I guess. I saw a map recently of the different dialects of Ojibwe. You know, that's a big territory of Ojibwe speakers. And so it's the same language, like Mushkode is what we'd say here. But somewhere else they would say Muscodane. You know, that's why it's so impossible. How do you spell that? Well, it depends. What region of the Midwest, North America, North Central North America are you from? But I think that's why it's so important that we speak it, because we're never going to remember how to spell it. Yeah, no kidding, huh? But you know what you can remember? The day you decide to leave your hometown. Back in the days of the grandfathers, there was a young man who lived in a small town. And that town was known for one thing. It was a speed trap town. It would go from 55 right to 30 without any warning. And if people didn't know better, they wouldn't even know a town was there. They'd just be cruising through what they thought was a countryside. And out of nowhere, this town would pop up. And the local sheriff would pull people over and give them a speeding ticket. Say, hey, you're speeding. We got ya. This is a speed trap town. And I think a lot of people, whoever heard the song Speed Trap Town, if you're from a a small town. There's a lot of stuff about this song that might sound familiar. You know, going to a high school football football game on a Thursday night and sneaking a bottle up the bleachers. You're not supposed to be drinking at a football game, but, you know, it's outside. Who cares? And, you know, living in a small town, everybody kind of knows you. And you're reminded of that when somebody dies. People you don't realize cared come out of the woodwork. Hey, man, I'm really sorry about your dad. Here's a song that I wish I could be bothered to learn. The guy who wrote it, he's just great. But Michael sings this song. It's called Speed Trap Town. And I'm going to play it for yous. And then we're going to let Natasha get up here and say hello, huh, sweetie? Okay. All right, you guys. Miigwech Bizendawieg. Thank you for listening. And this is Speed Trap. No, this isn't Dig If You Will, Prince. This is Speed Trap Town. And Michael Lyons. And probably a copyright strike. She said it's none of my business, but it breaks my heart. Dropped a dozen cheap roses in my shopping cart. I made it out to the truck without breaking down. Everybody knows you in a speed trap town. And it's a Thursday night, but there's a high school game. Sneak a bottle up the bleachers and forget my name. And these 5A bastards run a shallow cross. It's a boy's last dream and a man's first loss. Never did occur to me to leave till the night when there's no one left to ask if I'm alright. I'll sleep until I'm straight enough to drive, then decide if there's anything that can't be left behind. Doctor said Daddy couldn't make it a year, but the holidays are over and he's still here. How long can they keep you in the ICU? Veins through the skin like a faded tattoo. He was a tough state trooper till a decade back, when that girl who was a mama caused his heart attack. It never did occur to me to leave till the night when I realized he'll never be alright. I signed my name and I said my last goodbye, and decide that there's nothing left that can't be left behind. road got blurry when the sun came up. So I slept a couple hours in my pickup truck. Had a cup of coffee at an Indian mound, 1,000 miles away from that speed trap town. Never did occur to me to leave. It never did occur to me to leave. Ah. Michael, that was great. Hey, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, on the guitar and singing a song, Michael Lyons. That's such a sad song. Yeah. Road got blurry when the sun came up. Hey, everybody, BOOZHOO. How you doing? Natasha Nindishinikas. Natasha is my name. And so happy to see Papa Wagosh, BOOZHOO Papa, and Jessica Wabooz, and Jim Dunn, Daniel Black, Brandy Marie. Oh, wow, so many people here. Can't believe it. So, yeah. Are you from a speed trap town, honey? Yeah, kind of. I mean, we had a crazy sort of S curve in our town, so people could slow down. But yeah, our town is so small that people were surprised to hear there was a school. Yeah. Road got blurry when the sun came up. And it never did occur to me to leave. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, you just get kind of caught up in life. And sometimes, there's certain, I guess we're sort of people who never left. I mean, we left and came back. But when you still live in the town you grew up in, that's a certain kind of person. You just you get caught up in living. You don't quite believe in the promise of things will be better if I moved away. I was always afraid when I was growing up that I'd have to move to the cities. Really? Yeah. I was secretly dreading the idea. Oh, man. I mean, I felt like living in a small town was stupid and there wasn't any opportunity. There's little opportunity. And I always felt like, I'm probably going to have to move to the cities to make my dreams come true. But then I always kind of, I'm probably going to get knifed when I'm down there. I'll probably get mugged. I'll get lost in the traffic, and it's all dangerous. Because I was from such a small town, the only thing I knew about cities was what you saw on TV. And the only thing you saw on TV, news and fiction, was, that murders and, mayhem. So I didn't want to move to the cities. Forget it. And now that I'm old, I really don't want to move to the cities. No, forget it. I was right when I was young and sheltered and scared. Stay out of those cities. There's chaos. La 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 la. So yeah, BOOZHOO. Today is Friday. What's our other Ojibwe phrase of the day? Oh yeah, Manadane Moen. Respect. RESPECT. MANAADENDAMOMIN. That's what that means to me. Manadane Moen. Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired until I saw a buffalo, mushkare bishake, Your love is my peace of mind. You make me feel. Oh, doggone it. I hate coughing on air. It's so not ladylike. Hey, sweetie. Yeah, what's up? Can you do a salad for me? What would you like me to do, honey? I was wondering if you could teleport me outside. I want to put out some tobacco. I'm going to say a prayer to get you Manado. Okay. I'm going to go outside for a second, you guys. Maybe put out a little tobacco, a little asema for the Great Spirit. Go show a little Manadanda Moen to the Creator. Nah. All right, sweetie, whenever you're ready. Okay, hold still. Why? What's going to happen? Well, I don't know. Hello? Hi, sweetie, it's me. Oh, hi. Did you make it out to the woods okay? Yeah, I'm just out here. Gonna put out a little tobacco. Okay, well, just give me a call when you want me to come pick you up. Okay. So, here we are. Out in the great outdoors. The how do we say outdoors? Aquaching. Aquaching. The great outdoors. The great outside. And I brought just a little pinch of tobacco. And I'm going to say, Otapidamaniwi asema, accept my tobacco, get chimanado. Oh, yeah, okay, sweetheart. Oh, hi. What's going on, my daughter? I was going to give you some tobacco and say a little prayer. Oh, that's very kind of you, my daughter. Here you go. Oh, just sprinkle it on the ground there. Just like that? Yeah, that's fine. Now you just say a little prayer. Okay. So now I'm just going to say, Gichi Manadu, Mikwech, Gaiji Kakina Geku. Great Spirit, thank you for everything that you do, Nungum, today. Mikwech, thank you, Gaiji, for Kakina Geku, everything you do, Kakina Geku, Nungum, today. Mikwech Bemadazian. Kaishi Bemadazian, thank you for my life. How would I say it? Kaishi Niwi Bemadazian. Thank you for my health. Thank you for the show. Thank you for the BOOZHOO crew. Mikwech for all that. You know? Sometimes when I pray, I don't even want to ask for anything because I start saying thanks. And I go, well, I'm not going to say, okay, thanks for everything. Super appreciate everything. But I have a list of demands, you know. So, who knows what prayer is supposed to be any more than just talking to the Creator? I hope you can hear me. And I hope what they say about you is true. That you know my heart. But thank you for everything. I'm too thankful to ask for anything. Except to, please keep it up. If it's cool with you, it's cool with me. Please continue to bless me. With good health. With, enough money to pay all my bills. With this really fun, live stream. It's so cool that I get to sit out here in the woods. It's so pretty out here. And I just really appreciate the BOOZHOO crew. Mikwech for the BOOZHOO crew. Thank you for giving us some people who will watch and listen to us rattle on about nonsense. So, yeah. I guess that's all I want to say. Mew Minik. Yeah, that's enough. Ape Enge Gichimanadu. Miigwech bizundawieg. Amen. Thank you for listening. It's nothing but a thing, my daughter. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll go back. Hello. Hi, sweetie. It's me, Natasha. Oh, you're kidding. I didn't know anybody else knew the number. You want me to come teleport you back home? Yeah, would you mind? Not at all. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in on your coordinates there. All right. Hold still. Okay. 1 to teleport back to the studio. Hey, welcome back. Thank you, sweetie. All right. All right. So, you put out some tobacco for the creator? Yeah, I sure did. Did you talk to him? A little bit. Yeah, he kind of likes to interrupt when we're trying to pray. I know. But he told me just to sprinkle the tobacco on the ground. Oh, he didn't want you to smoke it in a pipe? No, he didn't ask me to do that. Okay. La la la. You know, I was thinking about telling the story of John Dunbar today, but it looks like we're almost out of time. Well, you could tell it tomorrow. Should I? Yeah. How about tomorrow? You start the show, and you can do a whole story on John Dunbar and how John Dunbar got his Indian name, Dances with Wolves. Okay. I'm going to tell him to tune in tomorrow for a story. Yeah, there you go. This will be like the, it's not a cliffhanger, but, whatever. Okay. Should I say goodnight? Say goodnight, Gracie, even though it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Tomorrow, why is this thing keep popping up? Tomorrow, tune in tomorrow for the story of John Dunbar, or how not Val Kilmer, what's his name? Kevin Costner. How Kevin Costner got his Indian name. Tomorrow we'll talk about, hey, you know what? We could talk about what Indian names are. That could be like the Ojibwe phrase of the day or something. Yeah, you could teach about, what is an Indian name and how to get one if you want one. Just do that whole thing. Remember that joke? It's too dirty for here. About, how do you choose an Indian name? Well, it's the first thing you see after a baby's born, Like, when this guy was born, I looked up and I saw a flying eagle, so he became Flying Eagle. And when that guy was born, I looked out and there was a walking bear, and so there's a bear walking. And why do you ask? 2 dogs making love. No. Okay, we better get going. I would love to say Miigwech bizundawieg. Thank you for listening to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Natasha. This is NANABOOZHOO. That's Michael Lyons. And I will see you again. Gigo of a min. Minawa. Hawa. Want to take off? Yeah, let's get out of here. All right. Yeah, I'll see you later. See you later. Yeah? That's great.